What's up, everybody, man? Welcome to another episode of the Organic Marketing Show. And we are here, man. I got a very special guest that we're going to be talking about. But if this is your first time on the show, the first time you're seeing this, if you're on Facebook, go ahead, make sure you like it, make sure that you follow me so I can just get more feedback to get more of these shows out there. And if you're on YouTube, please, obviously, give me the little thumbs up, like, subscribe, and follow the channel, man, because it's really helpful to get that validation that we're putting out content that you guys enjoy. Today's show, I know you're going to enjoy this. So I know this is going to be a no-brainer for you because this is something that I think, especially going into the new year, going to 2022, everybody kind of needs that kick in the butt, right? And, you know, my drill sergeant used to say everybody needs a little kick in the teeth. It's a little harsh, but you get the point that we kind of need that nudge, that push to really go after it. And so today I thought it was fitting to bring a friend on here, my man Pasha. Pasha, how are you doing, sir? What's going on?
Hello. Hey, Tommy. How's it going? Great to be here.
Awesome, man. Man, thank you for taking the time to be on here, man. And I think it's fitting to have you on for our first guest for the 2022 season. Really just inspiring story, man. I remember when we first talked, that when you were telling me what was happening, where we were going, you kind of approached me about some Airbnb stuff. Well, we're definitely gonna get into because you're killing it in that. But in that process, you told me a story. I was like, man, I gotta like get to know you a little bit better and hear this thing. So before we even get into that, man, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me, Tommy. My name is Pasha, and I'm about to get to 36 years old. I've been living in different countries, and I love that. But my main job's been for so long being like a data scientist. So I've been looking into programming, doing the statistical analysis, and all of that. For the very main part of my career life, I've been more of a consultant to bigger companies when it comes to the real estate decisions.
Got you. So consulting in like what capacity? Just like what the market's doing, how it's shifting, and what capacity?
Exactly, exactly. So mainly it was how can we use data pieces to understand in bigger scales, which markets are going to be better markets to invest in, what are like down to, hey, this part of the street is where you will probably have more foot traffic in future, or in general, what are the markets that you probably want to avoid, but mainly in commercial space, yes.
How can someone like the layman's person, how could someone use data to do something like what some of these big companies are doing?
Well, that's a very, very good question. So you basically, when you want to analyze the market, obviously the very first question is not about the market; it's about what you want to do, what your business model looks like. Are you, let's say you want to find a market to strive in an Airbnb business. Let's assume that.
Okay.
Now, when you want to do that, now you know what are the main mission of your business. And then
Hmm.
you basically break it down into, all right, what are the must things that you need to have. For example, in this regard, is the tourist attraction needs to be at least like to this certain amount to make sure that you would be able to survive. The competition isn't that high, that would drive you out. Third, and the most important one, is the regulations. Is there any regulations or anything that would prevent you from doing that? For example, in some part of New Orleans, you might not be able to do it, but in pretty much everywhere in Arkansas, you'd be able to do your Airbnb. So these are the third thing that like you need to know about any market that you want to enter. But when you want to use data now to, let's say you filter down 200 markets with these criteria to, let's say, 150 markets.
Okay.
Now you will start looking into the data that corresponds to that market specifically. And one of the most important one is population growth. You want to go into an area that people are going into, or at least they're staying in there and they're going, because there are a lot of other areas that like have the drainage of people. And if you enter into that market, there might be at some point that there's just not enough demand for whatever business you're going to build. And this is
Wait,
true.
where do I find that though? Where can I find out
Oh, that's a very
where
good
where
question.
population growth is headed, and what cities are
That's
growing?
that's a very good question. So there are a couple of websites that you would be able to actually access that data for free. And I would be more than happy to send that to you so that you would be able to put that on the notes too. But Census Bureau is one of the very, very main ones that you want to look into. So
Okay.
if you, BLS is another website, which is
BLS.
BLS, B like Barry, L like Larry, S like Sarah, BLS.org, I guess, is these two websites are the main sources that government uses for all of their analysis, and they're actually pretty great. You would be
Okay.
able to get access to it, and it goes all the way down to even like zip codes, so you would know like what is the population growth of one zip code, which is insane.
Wow. Wow. So, all right. So, just to kind of wrap that up, you kind of look at, okay, this particular zip code is growing, this one is not. So, maybe on both ends, I could look at the one that's not growing as a potential area for where property values might be heading down. Um, and maybe because there's just the demand for whatever reason is not there, and that you might be able to, that might be a better market for rentals. Maybe you can find some good deals with some tired landlords, some people that are tired of getting people transit coming in and out. Maybe get some decent deals there. And then obviously the one with the population growth, obviously that's one where you probably want to more, invest a little more time for fix and flips and those type of deals.
That's exactly right. And another thing is, you would be also able to look into the businesses that are coming into that area. So there are a lot of websites that are basically publicly traded, and their information is available. So when you look into that, you would be able to know, let's say, we're going to have, I'm just giving an example. Let's say we're going to have one Home Depot and one Lowe's coming into these two areas in that town, which means they're going to bring more businesses with them.
Yeah.
And when you know something that like that is going to happen, you want to be ahead of the market. You want to go ahead and buy lands. You want to go ahead and buy, fixer upper properties, because when the demand comes in, you're already well prepared for it. And that's
So
that's one of the reasons that you'd
and
be able
where do
to.
you could find that on that information as well, or do you have to go to the city? Because I know the cities do plans, they do 5, 10, 15, sometimes 50-year plans, right? City or the county, depending on how big they are. Is that where you're finding that data of where the Home Depots are coming in or not?
No, no, that's not that. So there are these are very good questions. So first of all, let me tell you that that's amazing. But the very first one is, what are the city plans, and what are the like the governmental projects that's going to happen? For those, you would want to look into the city planning and go through those. But for the commercial side of it, and for the company side of it, you do need to actually go into each of these companies publicly available resources, and they all, pretty much all of them have that.
So the
And you
information
would,
is there. It's not like hidden. It's right in
no,
front
no,
of
it's not hidden. That's exactly right. Like, for example, if you listen to the quarterly calls, or if you go through their transcripts, it's available to public. You would
you.
be able to see that, and that's one of the things that a lot of people actually miss. But it's a little bit of work, and that's the reason that big companies hire people like me in teams to actually do this research for them. But obviously the return that these companies would get is much more, because they know like what's going to happen in the next 1 or 2 years based on the committed budget of these companies for those
Got
areas.
it. So walk me through this, because I know approximately 3 years ago, life didn't look like it does right now, right? And you were doing this work about 3 years ago as well.
That is correct, yes sir.
And so you had all this information, you had all this knowledge and experience being able to find these things. Were you doing a lot of stuff in real estate at that point?
For myself, no.
Yourself, no.
uh,
So you had all this information and it's like, I'm not gonna actually act on it. So what really was the thing that kind of pushed you to, like, what, I'm gonna really start taking this seriously? Like, this is like, I have all the tools right here. What made you, kind of move forward with this?
well, Tommy, as you mentioned, sometimes you do need a kick in the butt, and that's exactly what happened to me. So um, uh, uh, my wife and I are actually really kind of like family oriented. We, we were living our, like, a straight life, if you will, like, just going to the like, it was basically me just going to my W-2 job, make money, bring it back home, thinking about, okay, I'm going to retire on, when I'm 65 years old,
Yeah.
watching Netflix and playing video games. That was basically me. And the thing is, I had this in the back of my mind that I need to be prepared for the worst case scenario. And the worst case scenario for me was, well, I might be out of the job for 6 months. So I should have a reserve for, like, let's say 3 to 6 months, because um, I knew that I would be able to find a job here or there. And it wouldn't be like me without a job for a long time. So worst case scenario for me was, let's have a reserve for 6 months to make sure that, we're not gonna, like, lose our home or anything. And
Yeah.
worst case scenario, I'm laid off, I lose my job, I find another one. And life is good, actually. I was able to pay off my mortgage, pay off my car payment, credit payment, like pretty much everybody else,
Mhm.
until I went to visit some family members outside of the United States. And what happened was that in my country, adult male, there are a couple of countries that are like this, but mine is one of them, which is like, if you are an adult male, you are entitled to go to a military service, and this is compulsory. This is
You
mandatory.
have to
You
go.
have to, exactly. You have to go, and you have to serve 2 years. Well, obviously, I didn't want to do that. So what I did was, well, I immigrated to first. I went to Europe. I really loved it, but then I came to United States, got my degree and everything, right? But
You met your wife here in the United States, or
no, we were actually college sweethearts, if you will, and so
okay?
we both came here.
Oh, okay.
But what happened was, when I came here, I couldn't go back, because if I go back, they will, like, all right, you can't go outside of the country until you do your 2 years service. So because of that, I haven't been to my country for, like, I would say, about like 10 years.
Wow.
Now they came up with this regulation that, like, all right, we understand some people don't want to come here, don't want to live here. You can pay like this much amount of time, amount of money, and you'll be able to just come here for like 3 months per
Right.
year to visit. And we were, yep, sold. That's a very good idea. So we paid them, and after, I think, like 10 years almost, I went back to visit my family. Right.
Awesome. Okay.
So I arrived there, and 3 months later, 3 days later, actually, I was still jet lag. There was a conflict of war. One of the top positions in the government was actually assassinated by another country, and it was a speculation of war, like really, really high speculation of war.
Wow.
And there was a
And
fine
this is only
print.
3 days after you've gotten back
Yeah,
home.
yes.
All this is happening. Like,
All this was happening, exactly. And
wow.
there was a fine print on that. You remember I told you that you needed to pay like a little bit of money to get
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
like, access. There was a fine print which was, if there is war, you're exempt. Like, you will be drafted to an
None of that
army.
matters.
None of that matters. Like, if you are here, you're gonna go to army. So my wife was here in the United States, and she calls me and she's like, "You need to get the hell out of there." And I was like, I don't know. I just got here for I don't know what I was thinking, really. I don't know at that point, but I was like, I
Yeah.
just got in here. I'm enjoying it. There's no way somebody would, like, they're not going to start a war because of that. Sure enough, my wife called me 3 a.m. 2 nights later, and she was like, "Well, you better be prepared, because your country, my country, actually, started an assault and attack with missile on the other partner,
Oh,
on the
wow.
other corresponding part." And I was like, holy crap. Like, it was 3 a.m. and my wife was like, "You need to get out of the country." And she was absolutely right, because if I was staying, there was war, I would have been drafted. Like, I have my whole life and everything here, and now I'm going to be like a soldier that
Yeah.
God knows how long would I last on the battlefield. So it was completely shocking to me. I remember I just grabbed my passport, grabbed a couple of credit cards that I had, two pair of underpants. I remember that. So all of that, and then I didn't even get to goodbye to my parents. They were sleeping. So I just got a taxi to go to the airport, and all of the airports all around the country of mine was closed, because, well, there was a very good possibility of war, and when that happens, they close down the airports, except one airport which was still open.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, let's go there. We wanted to catch a flight which was coming down to Canada and San Diego, and I was like, close enough. I can at least come here, so that's good enough. So
Yeah.
when we were going, the taxi driver was not going more than 55 miles an hour.
Is that? But that's not like normal. Like it like over there in your country.
It's not.
It's a very aggressive drive. It's not like
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I kept telling him that, hey, dude, I need you to step on it. I want to get like go to 80 miles or whatever. And it was like, well, I'm gonna get a fine for it. And I don't want to do that. I don't want, and I was like, okay, how much is that? And it's,
you're gonna
well,
pay.
yeah. So he said, well, they're gonna charge me like to this amount, that if we transfer it, it's gonna translated to dollars, it's like $20 or $25. And I was like, dude, I'm gonna pay you like $50. Just go, right?
Uh-huh.
And the guy was like, okay, show me the money first. It was kind of like a street smart, if you will.
Yeah.
And I remember I only had credit card. I didn't have cash with me. So I was like,
Uh,
well, I don't have it with me. And it was like, okay, yeah, everybody is big mouth when they don't. I was like, oh no, that's that. Okay. So anyway, we missed the flight. We missed that flight. And
so because he was slow,
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
missed the flight that you were supposed to be on.
correct, correct.
Jeez,
So,
Almighty, okay.
so we missed that flight. And I was like, oh, sure, whatever. So I went to I talked to the counter, and I was like, okay, what is that like? What's the next flight that we can get onto? So it was another flight which was into another country, but this was still another country. So I thought, well, I'm gonna take it because I don't want to be here if war breaks out, right?
Uh-huh.
So I go there, I jump on the plane, and I'm all nervous. My phone at that time had 8% battery charge. I remember that, and I was
Wow.
checking the news to, so like, the war, is it, are we at war or not? And because it was like really early in the morning, like you couldn't see a lot of people going back and forth, and it was
Like
kind of
what time
worrying
are
me.
we talking about? Like 6 a.m., 5
No,
a.m.?
it was actually earlier than that. I think
Wow.
at that time it was like, maybe we were talking about like 5 a.m. or something like that.
Okay.
So I look into my phone and I realized that the previous airplane that I didn't get into is shut down, and 176 people unfortunately died on the
Hold
arrival
on.
spot.
So the plane that you were supposed to get on, it didn't crash, it was shot down.
Exactly, unfortunately, and that's to this day, that's one of the biggest tragedies of our history, of our contemporary history. But yes, it was shut down by two missiles.
Okay, so hold on. We gotta back up a little bit. So you're on your way because you're like, I need to get up out of here. And simply because you were like, hey, taxi, and got this specific taxi driver that took long, that was driving slow, didn't believe that you had money, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
I believe
because
I got $30. Yes,
yeah, right. Because of that, you missed the plane that you were supposed to be on, and that plane was the one that got shot down by two missiles.
correct, correct. Unfortunately, and
Goodness.
unfortunately, 176 people, really, really brilliant people, unfortunately passed away. And it's such a big tragedy. But
Yeah,
the other problem was, I was on the next plane, which was going through the exact same routes. So at that time,
you're on the tarmac or you're in the air now?
no, no, I'm still, we still didn't take off. I'm in the airplane checking the news, because I was
Oh
I
my
was
gosh!
I was getting prepared for it. And there were mixed news of, because when something happens, you don't get like the right news right away. So there were a lot of news around it was a technical difficulties and everything, but there were videos surfacing which was showing something, uh, like something going, and there was an explosion or something.
Yeah.
So there were these videos circulating around, and people were talking, it's shot down by missile. So I let the flight attendant know that, hey, like, what's going on? The previous flight is shut down, and they're like, no, that was a technical difficulty. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen to us. So I
What?
realized that, yeah,
How were you like sitting there? I can only imagine. You're sitting in the airplane, waiting because I'm assuming it's like a line of airplanes waiting to take off, right?
true,
So
yes.
you're sitting there waiting to take off. Like, describe to me when you saw that news, what it felt like. What were you feeling in that moment?
Boy, all I can say that I was I was panicked, obviously. But another thing which was kind of weird to me, because if you had asked me before how would it feel if I was in that seat, I would tell you that I would freak out. I would, like, break the window. I would get out of the window or something like that. But it was more like, more of a, oh crap, I think I'm gonna die. something like this. And
Like very matter of fact, like I think I'm gonna die.
yeah, yeah, like, well, there's a very good chance that I'm not going to make it. Now, the most important thing for me was, how can I communicate something to my family? I've got 8% battery charge. I've got probably about like 10 minutes. What am I going to do with these two? um
Mm,
it was less of a, let's save myself, because another thing was, if even if I wasn't flying out, I would have been drafted to war, so that wouldn't be a very sexy other options either. But it was more of, I need to communicate it to my wife, because I used to do everything in my home, um like, taking care of the bills, taxes, stocks, of everything.
yeah,
So at that time, I was like, okay, there's a very serious chance that I won't be able to make it out of it alive. So let's make sure that I communicate something to my wife. So there's an option on Gmail that you would be able to schedule an email for later. So I scheduled an email for 2 weeks, because one, I already know my wife is freaked out, because she was the one who actually gave me the call and everything.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I didn't want to, like, freak her out, but at the same time, I wanted her to have that message. So I scheduled an email for 2 weeks, because I'm thinking, okay, if I die or something, 2 weeks is enough that she will go
Yeah.
back and check her email. So I scheduled an email. I'm like, well, honey, I love you, all of the first things. But at the same time, I wanted to be fast, because I didn't want to lose my battery charge
Yeah,
either.
yeah,
And I'm like, hey, look, here is my username and password to get access to my Robinhood account. This is my username and password to get access to my other stock portfolio. Here is our life insurance policy, which, by the way, wouldn't cover that incident. They would consider it as a terrorist. Later on, I realized, and that's how
oh my
it,
gosh,
it was another thing which was really persuading me to do what I'm about to tell you. But I listed everything that she had to know financially, and I look into it, and I schedule it, and I'm like, holy crap! But wait, hold on a second. Like, what we have here is, we're talking about just a couple of grands. Like, she can live off of it. You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
just like giving you just a lump sum of money. Sure, you can live like 6, maybe 10 months off of it, but then what?
Like she's completely like unprepared. Your family's
Yeah,
completely unprepared.
absolutely, absolutely.
They
And
lose you.
And
Wow.
Tommy, at that time, that kick in the butt or teeth that you mentioned was exactly
Yeah,
that moment for me, because I knew, as you mentioned, I've been doing that for other companies, I've been doing that for other people, but I never allow myself to break that comfort zone and go into the entrepreneurial world and make it in a way that I would be able to have something that will generate wealth without having to have me on board.
yeah,
Or another word, the importance of generational wealth was so bold for me, because at that point I realized the worst case scenario wouldn't be me not having a job. It would be me not being around for my family.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I better have something that, if that happens, is still able to provide my family and make sure that they're well taken care of. And I knew that I knew, sometimes you really know that you're capable of something. You just know. And that was the case, because I knew that I was able to do this, but I didn't, just because I was so comfortable with that
Your
little
life.
bit of a W-2
Yeah.
income that I had. And um, I believe my neurons in my brain just like rewired, and I promised myself, if I make it out of it, I'm definitely gonna do something about it. Thank God they shut it off. That missile system didn't work anymore. They realized there was a mistake and everything, so they shut it off. My plane made it to the other country. Nothing bad happened. Thank God. Thank God. I mean, I'm so grateful, and I'm so sad for what happened to other people.
Yeah.
That's just such a big
Oh,
tragedy.
yeah.
But what happened to me was, um, I, I believe when I got out of that plane, I was a different person. I really was a different person.
What makes you say that? Like when you finally landed in the other country, like what did that feel like? What in that moment, what was going through your brain?
Man,
What was going through your body? What was the emotions going through it?
dude, that's such a good question. Just to give you a little bit of an example, one of the greatest books, in my opinion, for people like me in that position, is Rich Dad Poor Dad
Mm-hmm.
by Robert Kiyosaki. So one
Classic.
of my
Yeah.
friends actually, awesome book, exactly, changed. changed your mindset and everything. So one of
Right.
my friends actually gave me that book, and he was like, "Yeah, just read that." Read through like the first and second chapter. I was like, "This is just too boring." But like, Rich Dad Poor Dad is too boring. Was too boring for me. So I put that aside, never touched it again.
Mhm.
After I got off of that plane, I was like, "Holy crap! What was it that I was thinking? Like, why did I consider that I'm immortal and I will never die?" That's probably
Mm,
one of the most stupid thing that your brain tricks you to think about it, because your
yeah.
brain doesn't want to think that it's not going to be around. And a lot of our decisions are made around that thing, like you're going to live forever, which is not the case.
People
And
who don't think about their death tend to live a very dull life.
exactly.
They don't realize that, like exactly what you're saying. Like it's like you're at one day they're gonna close that casket one time, at one point.
Yes.
And
and
what
and
you leave behind is the only thing that's left of you.
and your next moment, nobody's promising you your next moment. You can easily die the very next second, and
Yeah.
that would be absolutely fine. Everybody will carry on with their life. The world won't stop turning. Everything would go around. This is your life. This is the period of time that we have on this planet. You better know how to use it. So
Mm,
when I got off of that plane, I knew that I need to do something about it. I didn't know exactly what it was. So I went and I looked into different way, and then I was introduced to the term passive income. And when I looked into it, I really liked it. Uh, at first, I looked into like a stock markets and things like that, but it was more of a gambling type of thing.
yeah.
I I, I don't have control over what's going to happen. So I it was a quick, because I knew I need to have something that if I'm not around, my family doesn't depend on luck for that to go forward. It would still require my skills to turn that machine. I didn't like that.
Hmm.
So I looked around and I was introduced to real estate, and man, it clicked like that, because I've been doing that for
Yeah.
years, and I was like, how much was I blind? Like, how blind am I to not see that I've been doing this
The
for
thing is
years?
right
For
in front of you, the thing that you've been doing for years,
exactly right under my nose,
your
and I
ticket.
didn't say it.
Yeah.
I'm doing this, and I'm doing this so good that some companies are willing to pay me to just tell them what to do. I'm
Pasha,
not doing it for
let me
myself.
stop you there because that's something that I think probably conservatively 70 to 75% of Americans, just people in general, I think most of them are in that exact situation, meaning that they go to a job where they see problems within that job, they see opportunities, but they just say, oh, customer service is going to fix it, technical service is going to fix it, the CEO is going to fix it. And they're not realizing that they're literally giving away probably millions of dollars because if they fix that problem for that specific company, pretty much every company has competition, right? Other companies are probably experiencing the same exact problems, and just by being uh, emotionally and entrepreneurially aware of what the problems are and wanting to go fix them, I mean, they could completely change their life. And so you're sitting there before this incident, comfortable, nice salary, like you said, you got some stock, you got some savings, and you have this thing that's right in front of you that you could implement, that you could use and completely change the trajectory of your family's future. But because you're comfortable, you're not putting two and two together. And it took this kick in the butt, or like I said, this kick in the teeth, to really shake you up and be like, hey, look at what's right in front of you. Look at the opportunity that's right there, that's in your lap, that you drive to, that you work for every single day. That opportunity is right there. And that's the one that you decided to hold on to.
That's absolutely right. Like, you named every single word, and that's exactly what happened. And that's what I actually see upon myself, that I need to at least bring everybody's attention to it. That, hey guys, like, look, you might you might be in the same on the same boat that I am. That I was just too comfortable to not like come outside of my comfort zone, and
Yeah.
because of that, I was missing so much opportunity. And I try to like talk to my other friends and everything. So yeah, absolutely right. I totally agree with you.
Wow.
Totally agree
So
with you.
how did this experience affect your wife and your close circle?
Yes. So that's a very good question. So when I came back, and it's really interesting, because when I came back, and obviously everybody was happy, everybody was really worried about me, so I really appreciated it. But when I talked to them, it was some kind of weird, because I felt like I'm awake, but others aren't. I don't know
Uh,
if that makes sense to you or not.
oh, that
Like,
makes 100% sense.
I
Yeah.
was like, okay, so let's build something that will create wealth for us. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, yeah, go to your job and work. And I was like, no, 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 you don't understand. Like, you
Yeah.
can lose that. That is, I mean, you can be dead. If you're dead, what's gonna happen to your family? And they're like, nah, we have life insurance. And I'm like, that life insurance companies are really good in like dodging bullet and not paying your family. You know that, right? And so that was a little weird to me, Tommy, to be honest with you. It was like, the Matrix movie when the guy comes like to the real world and then
Yeah.
sees everybody else is comfortable with being like, in that
They're
very
still
close
stuck.
circle.
Yeah.
Exactly. And what I did was, I remember I went to, Amazon, Walmart. I bought 25 books about real estate, all of them, all everything that Bigger Pocket publishes, anything on the top category of real estate. I was like, you know what, I want to know it, I want to read about that.
Yeah.
And I started reading, and here's what I want to tell you. Like, before this incident, I couldn't even read Reach Dad Poor Dad. After that incident, I read that book 4 times. I
Mm.
started with like books which were just about like how to look into different aspects of, homes and estimate rehabs. And I was like, I have no idea what this information is going to be, where this information is going to be useful for me, but that's okay. I'm going to read it, I'm going to go to the next one. And all of this, Tommy, was because now I have this glowing why, which defines every movement that I'm making, because I know why I'm doing it right now.
Yeah.
It wasn't just something that, oh yeah, I want to be rich, so let's just start doing it. I was like, if I was in a simulation of being close to my last moments, or at least that's what I felt.
Mm.
And the most, it wasn't like, how can I save my life? It really wasn't. And this is so weird, but it was like, oh, okay, it seems like I'm gonna be dead, but hey, what about my family? That was
Yeah.
my biggest concern. And it was such a big news to me. But now I knew that, okay, I need to make sure that next time that this happens, I'm feeling a little bit better. um, so so because I have this why, which is like, dude, it's blazing, then every single pieces of the puzzle falls right into the piece. So I start reading four books before I start into reading about more like how I can do Bear method, which, as you know, is like buy, rehab,
Yeah.
rent, and refinance. And then I read about your content on Airbnb, which is just, I want to say, I'm a big fan, absolutely amazing, helps your
Thank you.
cash flow to be even more, which causes your total portfolio to be better while you're doing it passively. So all of that helped me so much that all I can think of when I wake up in the morning, it's been almost 2 years since that incident, but and I can go through like how I got here. But now that I wake up in the morning, I'm like, all right, how can I make this better? What are the next steps that I need to do? What are the next article that I need to read? What are the best strategies that I can implement? And I keep talking to people, talking about real estate, talking about how we can actually increase the outcome, the cash flow of these things. And it's been amazing. I actually feel alive, and so far, knock on wood, the portfolio has been doing pretty well as well. So.
Awesome, man. Let me ask you this though. um, I have that feeling that like I just I don't know what it is inside me, but I know I'm meant for more. I know I need to do more. Um, how how do you think that you can, or what can you say, or what can people do that where you could transfer that feeling that you feel now? Like you said, you got off the plane and you're talking with your friends and family, and you're like, no, let's do this, and they're like, yeah, whatever, let's just go back to our normal lives. What sort of a near death experience, um, what do you think people can do to make that switch, to come around that corner so that they feel like, all right, yo, like I need to do something more than just what I'm currently doing. Like I know I'm made for something different and bigger. How could you, what do you think people can do to really create that and that turning point in their lives?
So you're basically saying, how can you enable other people to be better version of themselves?
Yeah, yeah.
hmm hmm That's a very good question. I would say I don't have the final answer to that yet, because what I realized is I need to talk to them not from my perspective. Because if I talk to them from my perspective of, hey, come here, like, look, I've got these properties and I've got these like Airbnbs and long-term rentals and mid-term rentals that are doing great, they're like, oh yeah, that's you took a lot of risk, and Well,
Mhm.
I mean, sometimes you can go sideways and you need to like walk back with them and say, hey, look, like here are the statistics. Here are like how for example, 80% of self-made millionaires made it based on real estate or anything around real estate. Like these
Yeah.
numbers won't lie to you. These are the different ways. But at the end of the day, I realize if I talk to them from that perspective, they always think that you're in a separate league. They are different. Their life is different, so it doesn't
Yeah.
apply to them. And
Mhm.
that's exactly how I used to think. I always thought like there are like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos people, and it's just way above me, nothing to do with me, and I'm here at the middle class, and I need to stay at the middle class.
Mm.
So one of the things that, at least in my experience, turned out to be really working is that I asked them, hey, look, there are self-made millionaires in the world, right? And they're like, sure. And I asked them, how do you think they became self-made millionaire? And the first guess that they come up with is like, oh, they are like, their parents were rich
Yeah.
or they were lucky or something like that. And I
Yeah.
knock them off one by one. Like people actually lose more money in inheritance that gain more money. It actually has nothing to do with Bitcoin or stocks or anything. Like, where do you think are the majority of them? And then it starts. It's you can see that it kind of pushed them to start thinking. And then bring up like the list of people that I know that and they know that are actually using real estate to become rich. And then they're like, you know what, maybe you are onto something. And then after that, I give them like uh, the the very famous rich dad poor dad, because I think that can bring you to the right position. But I think the most important thing, at least in my experience, is that not forcing somebody into something, because not only they will not come into that way, they actually will never go that route because you kind of ruined it for them, if that makes sense.
Mm.
They're like, oh, this is what that guy was talking about. No, I never want to get into. I just bring them like very passively to that point. Like, hey, look, if you want to retire like in 4 years, which is actually one of my friends told me that when you told me you want to retire in 4 years, I was shocked. But now I'm seeing how you're doing it, so I'm really want to do this with you, which is
Yeah.
amazing to me.
Yeah.
That's a win for me. But if I was forcing him to bring him into the on board, I don't think it would have worked. But I'm like, all right, I want to be retired when I'm 40 years old. Here are the steps that I'm taking, and
Mhm.
I'm going to walk you through every single step. That luck has nothing to do with it. There's a lot of work, but if you are a person who want to put up the work, guess what? You can do it. And so far, I'm seeing that to be the best way.
Yeah, I kind of did the same thing. I've been always like shouting entrepreneurship for a while, for like 10 years now, right? And telling my mom and my parents and my friends. And then just recently, my wife and I, we got married in October, and we had a pretty,
Congratulations again.
thank you, thank you. And we had a pretty nice wedding, and I invited obviously a lot of my friends from, that I've known for years, and they were finally able to all come down. And God's blessed, and we live a pretty nice lifestyle, and they were able to see that like firsthand, right? And that for a lot of them, like one of them decided, boom, okay, what do you think we should do? Okay, I'm gonna do that. And they actually implemented, right? We have these weekly calls now where just we call them our groomsmen, because they were all my groomsmen. So my groomsmen calls. So we have these groomsmen calls where we just, we talk about what's happening, whether it's NFTs and the
Hmm.
metaverse or real estate. And a lot of them now are like really like saying, okay, we watched Tommy do it. We saw when Tommy was one of my friends that's in there. I used to have to borrow money from him. Actually, two of them, three of them. Now I think about it, three of them I've had to borrow money from on multiple occasions. Um, and then they've now seen that transition. So they knew me when I was broke, right? They knew that I didn't grow up with money.
Hmm.
And I think sometimes that's the best way, is just showing, right? Just going out there and like, hey, this is what I'm doing. If you guys, you're welcome to come along, right? And just show them that, hey, it can be done.
And it's always interesting that at first everybody is like trying to tell you that no, that's not going to work. No, you're going to fail because, well, you are going outside of your comfort zone, which
Yeah.
is outside of their comfort zone too.
Yep.
And because they want to kind of persuade themselves that, hey, you're doing the right thing, they try to, I mean, that I really do believe they are trying to help in their mind, but They want to tell you, hey, don't do that, like you're going to the danger zone.
Yeah.
But when there's, oh, wait a minute now, well, wait, when did you get a Tesla? Well, wait, when did you like upgraded your home and things like that?
Yeah.
And then they're like, okay, can I do that too? And I think it's at this point, it's really, really important to not tell them I told you so.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know it's a little hard, but it's really important to help them as much as you can, because I
You didn't
think
gotta
this
tell
is
them you told them so. You're showing it. You're living it,
exactly. But
and that's how
be
you
the
do it.
proof, though. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like tell like helping others, because a lot of other people helped me to be in this position. um there are a lot of like great mentors, including you, that actually helped people like me to be in a better position, and I really think it's important to pass the torch on to the next
Hmm.
person. And
Absolutely.
it's kind of like our ethical
Duty.
duty, exactly. And this is something that we have to do. We need to make sure that other people are aware of it. And that's the reason that I started my Instagram page. As you can see, Take It Real Estate is what I try to just teach everybody how to use data and technology in real estate endeavors, because I feel that a lot of people might not have the technical background in real estate and vice versa. I really like to just share this information to make sure that everybody is exposed to the opportunity, because I know that if I was I would have liked to start in this, let's say 5 years ago instead of 2 years ago, but I'm still happy that I've done this.
Yeah.
So
So we're going to start to wrap this thing up, and the show is the Organic Marketing Show, and it's really about how people are marketing. So I do want to leave our viewers and listeners with some tips on how you're marketing using technology and using data. So can you give me a couple of tips, or give people a couple of tips on some
absolutely.
ways that they can market to get some of these deals using some of the data maybe that you
Absolutely,
get?
absolutely. So the very first thing is you want to. I think I don't know if Abraham Lincoln really said that or not, but I really like that saying that if I have an hour to chop wood, the first 30 minutes is going to go
Yep.
improving my axe, right?
Hmm.
And that's exactly what I've been doing so far. And so far, in my opinion, at least based on the standards that I have and I'm seeing around, I've been doing pretty good, which is, what is your niche? Like, who is going to be the customer, or in my case, who is the home seller or property seller that I'm interested in to reach out to? Because you can shoot, blank in the dark, but you need a lot of ammo for that, and nobody
Yeah.
has unlimited resource. So first of all, spend really good time, at least in my opinion, to know where you're headed to, who is your target audience, and that target audience, think from their perspective. What is it that they like? What is it that they most likely don't like? And if you don't know, reach out to a couple of them and invite them for dinner or lunch or coffee or something. Talk to them and make sure that you understand what they're going through. So, for example, in my case, it was really important. I live in a very, very competitive real estate market, pretty much like everywhere else. But one of the things that I realized is that all of these, and I wanted to buy properties from like tired landlords. And one of the things that I noticed was a lot of these people are fed up with these like cheap postcards of we buy home cash and things like that, or people calling them. So I realized that is the route that I do not want to take.
Hmm.
So my route that worked pretty well for me was, I want to reach out to you personally from a very, very personal communicative standpoint. I'm coming here and like, hey, I'm here. I'm a person that I'm not gonna lowball you. I'm an investor. I'm starting it, but I really think I would like to take the torch from you and make sure that you actually can retire better. And man, I can tell you, like, the response rate that I get is at least 7 times more than my other peers that are using those
What's
like cheap cards going out.
what's the medium that you're using? If they're not, is it text messaging? Is it what are you doing? Writing
That's
handwritten?
that's a that's a very good question. I have a system that I call it funnel tunnel, if you will. So it's basically multiple funnels that all are feeding the same tube of generating deals. So
Right.
one of the main one is, as you mentioned, like high quality handwritten letters. It's like, if you look at it, you really think that I wrote it just for Tommy, just for you, like
Mhm.
based on that. So I'm not gonna send out like 5,000 letters. I'm gonna send out 50 letters, but I study you before sending it to you, so you know that this is customized and specialized for you. It requires a lot of work, but that's the niche that I want to be in. I want
Gotcha.
to be in a premium communication with the seller. Now, some people are, they just don't like to get back with me, and some people are like, man, I received your letter and I loved it. Let's talk about this. I want to talk to you about this. And some of them are like, hey, look, I don't want to sell any of my properties, but I loved your communication so much that I would like to help you however I can.
Hmm.
I want to, share my handyman, or I want to share my, banker with you, which to me was really great. So that's one method. Another method that I use is I actually use software computer bots to constantly monitor the market for the niche that I want. The bot actually analyzes it and sends it to me. Basically, now it sends it to my virtual assistant, and they follow up with them with a phone call or Facebook message or text message or email or whatever they prefer.
Amazing.
So
Amazing. Amazing. Cool, man. Well, man, that is a lot to digest. That's a lot of stuff that I think if you're in the real estate world and that's the world you're trying to go into, definitely some things to probably reach out for you. Um, but even if you're not, if you're in anything, I think the main thing that you can kind of take away from this, whether or not you're marketing for real estate or you have a beauty salon, right? Um, Knowing who your target market is. I know we say that over and over and over, and there's a reason why you hear people say that over and over again. There's a reason why companies spends millions of dollars cultivating and finding out exactly who their demographic is, exactly who their target market is, because it really solidifies and makes your marketing very, very simple. Like you said, instead of sending out 5,000 letters, you can send out 50, but they're very personalized letters because you know exactly who the customer you're speaking to. Understanding that, if you could just take that one thing from this, from what Pasha is saying, and understand that, doing the work. When I start up a new campaign, I typically spend about 30 to 45 minutes just really studying and researching who my target demographic is. And so if you can take anything away from that, that would be that, whether or not you're in the real estate niche or not. Any final parting words for us, man?
man, it was really great being on this show with you, Tommy. You know, I'm a big fan of yours. You definitely made my life easier. But I think one of the things that I would tell everybody is work on your why. When you have your why, like why you are doing this, then everything comes with it. Then you would be able to define your vision. Then you would be able to define your mission. And every single thing afterwards will fall into pieces. And it's not important which field are you in or what type of entrepreneurial work you're doing. If you know why you're doing it and be super honest with you that, hey, this is my why, and make sure that that really 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 resonates with you, you work on that and you will get like exponential outcome afterwards when you get the very first piece right. So that's one of the things I would really recommend everybody.
Awesome, man. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much once again for popping on here on the show and speaking with us and telling us that amazing, amazing story.
Thank you.
And obviously, we're very thankful and grateful that you're here, and our hearts go out to the 176 souls that were lost that day. So appreciate you, man.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much, Tommy. Have a good one.
You too. You too. All right, everybody. Man, an amazing show. I know you guys received a ton of value because I know I did. Just hearing that story, and just understanding that this is something that catapulted. This is what it took for Pasha to really realize the gifts of everyday present, right? Like the present right now is the gift, right? And what we do with that present, what we do with that gift, is it can either take us to new heights, like what he's doing, and getting ready to retire in 4 years or less, or it can keep you stagnant. And stagnation is death, right? We're either growing or we're dying. It's a law. Okay. And so if you're in the same exact position that you were last year, or the year before that, if you're driving the same type of car, living in the same type of house, you're still going through the same type of relationships in and out, that means you're in that stagnation portion of your life. You're not growing. And it's time for you to use messages like this from Pasha and other messages from around the world of people that maybe didn't have such a dramatic life or death type of an experience, but that you've seen their lives change. It's time for you to make that change for yourself as well. And what we're doing here, we're helping people through teaching them how to do organic marketing. We're helping them take their business to the next level. And what I'd like to invite for you is for you to contact me. Just go ahead and DM me, send me a quick message. If you're interested, if you have a business that you're looking to market and grow that business up, and you're trying to blow that business out of the water in 2022, go ahead and send me a DM. We'll hop on a quick call and make sure that we lock you in. All right, guys. So this is going to wrap up this one for this specific show. Once again, this is the Organic Marketing Show. My name is Tommy Holt Jr. Go ahead and like, follow, and subscribe if you're on YouTube, or go ahead and like our Facebook. And we're going to continuously bring you new, fresh content just like this one to inspire you and teach you how to market more organically. You guys take care. Have a blessed one. Peace.